Hey guys, welcome back to PixelCity. I'm Joy, and today we are going to discuss something about the adjustment layers in Photoshop. That's right, today we are going to discuss something about the adjustment layers in Photoshop. So without any further ado, let's get started. So what are the adjustment layers in Photoshop? Now basically Photoshop offers us many kind of adjustment layers to apply any adjustment. Suppose a brightness, contrast. The brightness and contrast can be applied to many sections. Suppose we can go here in the image and we can apply adjustment like brightness and contrast. We can go to the filter and camera raw filter, we can apply the brightness and contrast there too, and we can go here to the adjustment layers too. So these are called the adjustment layers. So but before we start with the adjustment layers, one thing to tell you that the concepts in Photoshop are really very important, that I have told in the my previous video too. My previous video was about the smart objects in Photoshop. If you're interested in the smart objects in Photoshop, you can check my video from here, okay, or you can find the link in the description below. Now coming to the adjustment layers in the Photoshop. So these adjustment layers, now what Photoshop tells us, that I expect that you all of you know what the layers in Photoshop are. Or if you don't know, just comment below in this video and let me know if you just have the concept in the layer cleared or not. So by that I'll be making a video on the layer too. So if you just don't know what the layers are, the basic concept of the layer is Photoshop tells us when an image is in the layer, the image is totally editable, be it any part of your life. Okay, if you save the copy in a PSD format, you can edit the layers later too, or if you just finish editing and feel that some adjustment may be needed to a layer, you can edit that too. So the layers give you full flexibility to edit an image. Now the adjustment layers of course, why now these are all the adjustments, and this is the adjustment layer. So when the word layer is added to the adjustment, that simply means that the adjustments can be edited later. So this is the simple basic concept of the adjustment layers. When we are using any adjustment layers, we have to understand this thing, that the layer is totally editable. So even we do some mistakes, or if we just increase any slider or decrease any slider, we can change that later according to our need. So go ahead, and if you want to use the same sample file, the download links will be in the description below. So tap Ctrl+Z to duplicate the background. Now before you start any image, remember these the shortcut keys, and don't use the background. Okay, don't use the background. Make a copy and keep the background safe every time. Just make a copy by tapping Ctrl+J, and remember to just remember the shortcuts keys. There are a lot more shortcuts in Photoshop. Just remember the shortcuts. It's very important. Okay, now I'm selecting the layer 1. You can rename this layer 1. Let's suppose I'm typing model. Okay, now let's try with the new adjustments, so we can see the basic differences between the adjustment and adjustment layers. Adjustments, brightness, contrast. Let's increase the brightness, increase the contrast too. Click on OK. Now another adjustments, maybe hue, saturation. Let's increase the saturation. Okay, and now if I want to decrease the brightness over here, and I want to increase the contrast too, it's not possible because the pixels the effects are just burned to the pixel of this image. So if you want to do that, the only way to do that is tapping Ctrl+Z, going back to here and doing it again. No, I'm not going to do it again. So let's start from here. Now this is called the adjustment layer. Okay, this is called the adjustment layers. Go here, click on the adjustment layer and add a new adjustment layer, suppose brightness and contrast. These are the properties of the brightness and contrast. So let's increase the brightness, let's increase there too, and increase the contrast. So the thing they do are the same, but the only difference is that they all are editable. Okay, they all are just editable. Now add a new adjustment layers. Let's say vibrance. Let's increase the vibrance a little bit, a saturation too. Okay, these makes the skin glow. Now new adjustment, exposure only to brighten up the every part of the image. No, 0.50 looks perfect. Now don't play with these sliders, they don't look good. And new adjustments, the curves adjustment layers, and let increase the midtones a little bit and decrease the highlights. Okay, okay, if you want, you may play with the shadows too. You can decrease the shadows. Oh, that's doesn't look cool. Okay, midtones, yeah, it's look perfect. And if you just don't know what the curves and what this graph shows, let me tell you in brief that this is a line which in the brighter part it is the highlights, in the darker part is the shadows. and in the middle part is called the midtones. Now when you pull the slider down, it means that you are decreasing the highlights. When you are pulling the sliders up, it means you are increasing the highlights. Okay, see the difference? And in the midtones sections too, when you're pulling the slider down, you are decreasing the midtones. When you're pulling the slider up, you are increasing the midtones. And the shadows too, when you're pulling up the slider, you are just making the shadows brighter, and when you're decreasing the slider, you are making shadows darker. Now if you want to add a faded effect, you may have seen the faded effect. The only thing that does is we do is that pull the curve up to pull the shadows up and gives a faded look. If you want a faded look, suppose like this, you can give a faded look. I don't want my image to be faded, so I'm leaving it here. Now one thing, now there are too many layers in Photoshop, but if we just want to convert all the visible layers to one layer, there is a shortcut key, that is Ctrl Shift Alt E or Option Command Shift E on Mac. Okay, I'm not using Mac, so pardon me, I may have some problems. Okay, so this is converted to a new layer. Suppose let's rename this layer to final piece. You can do. So this is how we just tune up an image with the adjustment layers in Photoshop. Now why do you use the adjustment layer? Now the thing comes, why do you use adjustment layers? Now you see, anytime you want to increase the brightness or decrease the brightness a little bit, let's decrease the brightness, increase the contrast. Okay, now you want to increase the exposure a little bit. Okay, increase the exposure. You want to increase the vibrance a little bit. It's perfect. Increase the vibrance, decrease the saturation, or decrease the saturation. Now me again say that I want to reset my brightness and contrast. Okay, reset the brightness and contrast. 0, 0. No problem. You can do whatever you want. These are the adjustment layers, and they are totally editable. So as long as the adjustment layers are there, your adjustment layers are totally editable. You can give any value to your image and you can just work with it. So this is my final piece. I'm keeping it here. You can go ahead and save this image, and be sure to practice this kind of stuffs. Be sure that you practice with different kinds of images to apply different kinds of effects to that image and play with the sliders. This is important. So thank you guys, thanks for watching. Today's video was about the adjustment layers in Photoshop. I think after watching this video you have got a little bit concept of what the adjustment layers in Photoshop are. If so, please do hit the like button and do subscribe to my channel for more such content like this. I'll be back with many more contents like this, and thank you guys, thanks for watching and have a good day.